Right. Hey everybody, this is Carl Ellwein, Ellwein Engines. I'm doing part 3 of a 409 cubic inch LT1. Technically, it's a 410. It's a 40 over. This is a 4-inch crank, Magnum crankshaft from Cali's. Because nowadays, you used to be able to get from Scat at least a one-piece rear 4-inch stroke crankshaft. And I noticed like last year that they quit making that available. So this customer decided it would be appropriate then to spend the like 3 times the cost. No, maybe yeah, 3 times the cost. Magnum, but when you order a Magnum, if they have to do a one-piece rear, they put you up in the cost. So anyway, it's basically it's not a billet crank, but it's custom ordered. I ordered it with a 2-inch rod journal instead of the standard 2.1 because just that little bit of smaller diameter and the connecting rods being a little bit smaller helps with the clearance here. Since you got so much extra stroke, the smaller the better for here, and that helped out. So anyway, in part 2, I filed the rings. I did rod bearing clearance in part 2. Basically, that was about it. But I showed you the combo. I showed you the expected dyno numbers on this dyno sim camshaft installation. But I knew it yesterday. I didn't talk about it. This box of bearings came to me brand new, unsealed. I mean, sealed in their packages, unopened, no evidence of tampering. And it turns out that there was one extra lower, one less upper. And so that gives you, it doesn't give you a complete set. So I'm not going to install this in the final product, but I did clearance on all the rods, bearings, and knowing that I had to order another set, this is the extra lower and extra lower. It's a lower and a lower. See what happens when you do that. Now that I measured the clearance is still pretty substantially the same. It was like 25 thou. All the others were 23 thou. Sorry for the shaking. I'm trying to focus. But what it does is puts the bearing on an offset, like, so you'll have like a little sharp edge here, and I don't really think that's going to be good. In a pinch, maybe if you're desperate, I think these might be able to go in your car, in your motor, but I don't recommend it. Just that's how they line up when you don't get the top and the bottom half shell, and you get a top and a top, or a lower and a lower. So just number 8's that way. Monday, my Clevite bearing is coming to replace this one. King doesn't have any of these in stock anywhere, and well, that's what happens. I was pretty disappointed with King on this. They didn't really care. Nothing they could do. They didn't give me anybody in the warehouse who could go find just one of these. They refused to really do anything like that. And I can't expect people to be bending over to keep me happy. So whatever. So I'm just going to move forward. I'm going to put everything in except for this number 8. I'm going to put the rest in, put the rings in, put them all in, leave this one out. And then I'll start on number 120, which is Duke's. And that'll be a different subject. His stuff is back there. His block is... Oh, no, I'm not going to do number 120. His block is still being worked on. Okay, then I'm going to start on number 121. Or number 122, if I got all the parts. Or number 123 or 124. I'm up to 124. I'm getting behind, but I promise to catch up. If any of you are my customers, I'm catching up on the next 5 motors. All right, Carl Ellwein, stick with me. I'm getting 4.03, 4 or 5. And they get 4.0335. So that is 1 thou. That's 1 thou thicker. So they want 0.0065 clearance. So it's going to be 0.0055 clearance. The coating's going to take up for that. So that all seems satisfactory. So I do a check on one piston, but then I put a 6 thou in here and see if the piston can pass by it, which it can. So it's probably a 65 thou, just like they were asking for. And all I have is a 7 for that. So if a 7 is a little tight, it's in between. I oil these up, put it in where at the pin area because it's thinner there, and then spin it. And it gets a little tight, but it passes the 7. So clearance is a tight 7. Piston, the bore clearance is good. Let's just slide right in. I have to be gentle here too. This screwdriver is, this metal is harder than this aluminum, so it's easy to ding. So you have to be very gentle, not, just don't go careless. That's where I mean to be gentle. Don't ding inside there. I mean, you just don't want rings catching on bumps. The rings need to kind of be able to float around. Sort of like you don't want to create a stuck ring right off the bat. What I'm doing is making this tight and flat against the very bottom. It just helps me install it. If it's not all the way flush and tight with the bottom, well, it's a little harder to install the rings, the oil separator and stuff, but it will work its way down. If you're able to get these in, it will eventually work its way to its proper position. I'm just doing that to make it easier for this part of the install. If anything feels tight or unusual when you're installing these oil ring separators, just stop. It's probably something simple, like you've grabbed 2 of these accidentally. Other than that, there have been twice. More often, you'll see it with a used set of pistons. These ring lands will be dinged and dented, smushed in. I found that one time on a brand new piston. It's either I had dinged it somehow during handling, or it came that way. And so, like, I think it was the second ring wouldn't fit smoothly. It fit, but it was tight because it had a squished in ringland right there. Don't use it because that ring will be tight and it won't be able to, it'll be an oil control problem forever. Just bite the bullet, get a new piston. Now I'm going to put rings in. This is number 1. If you get them mixed up, if you get like your number 1 and number 2 mixed up, it's like, darn, which one? Always, number 1's the shiny on the edge, and number 2 is always dull. They have to be a little bit oily, not grossly oily. So I just used the 30 weight motor oil. With a super clean rag. You might want to clean them if they feel like these haven't been like gooped up with a sticky anti-corrosion. I'll use if it is, I'll use this oil to kind of clean it a little bit and then re-oil it. Whatever. All right, so number 2 ring, it's not shiny. Number 1, so number 1 top ring gap will be here, second ring gap will be here. All right, so this is the second ring gap. I'm going to put it, make sure it's up, make sure it's oriented however the instructions say. Usually there's always a mark, a dot, or the logo for up. And since these rings are so low tension, they just kind of expand a little bit and go right in that way. I like that over those expander tools because the expander tools stretch it too much. And that may have a tension memory, which I don't. Okay, so here, number 1, shiny. Up is the logo. Hey, do I got the gaps backwards? Oh, I do. Okay, so anyway, gap there. All right, so number 1 ring, same thing, that just goes right in just like that. All right, so the piston here, 1, 2, and then the oil ring I showed you. But they need to spin nicely and smoothly, so no burrs catching them or tight. If they're tight, they're going to be tight forever. Don't put them in that way. Figure it out. Okay. All right. Well, let's put some piston rods in. 40 over. I better have a 40 over piston installer. $30 and $30. Okay. 400, and here's my 40 over. ARP 40 over. All right. Since the block is sitting right here, I am going to start with lubing up. I'm going to start with the even side, 2, 4, 6, but not 8. So another cleaning of the bores, but with oil, and that'll get oil into the metal, into the cylinders, into the crosshatch. See, this is the oil. It's Brad, what is it? Penn system. It's not Brad Penn. It's a green oil. It is a high zinc. It's what I put in initial break-in. And then a little more. And then spread that around. And then on the rod journals, just keep them nice and lubed. Because if there's not enough on the rod journals, or if there's not enough on the bearings when I put them in, there'll be some on the rod journals. Well, my shop's in a little bit of a disarray. I have to take the rod bottoms off. This one's already off. Okay, number 2. Get low on this. It's not sliding down. Not tapering enough. Okay. Plenty of room here. Now we have the cam installed. Is it going to bump a lobe? Yes. It is. We may be at a stopping point. Because down in there, it's hard to show. Down in there, it's not only hitting the lobe, but look at, there's a lot of lobe left to clearance for. All right, we'll take number 2 out and just know that it bumps. Make sure there's no skirt scratches. Let's see what, plenty of clearance here. Yeah. Okay. Now, cam. It's coming around. No, there's no cam lobe at number 4. The cam lobe's not coming up at number 4. Okay. Good. Okay. Cam lobe. Cam lobe coming up. I think number 6 is going to bump also. Whoop. Yep. Bump. It bumps also. Hits that because the cam lobe is coming up. How much clearance does it need? Probably just a little bit. One thing to notice on a stroker, long stroke, see how far the piston comes out of the bottom there? That will cause Well, it'll pick up dirt in the oil, and it also might do a little wear right there, a little rock down at the bottom. And it has to clear that counterweight, which it does. A lot of things to look at on unusual stroke, long stroke motors. Ready for piston number 5. I'm thinking it's going to really just be rods number 2 and number 4 that are going to need extra clearance. I'm hoping. Rod bolt good. Where's the cam lobe? It looks like it's base. No, the cam lobe is coming around. Is it going to get past it? Yep, it got past it before the top of the lobe. So the rod went there and past it. Now the cam lobe's coming by. Isn't this a pain? Well, hopefully 2 and 4 will clearance and be okay. We'll show you that. All right, opportunity now. I'm going to show you what I do with a stroker when the rod bolts, not the rod bolts, but the rod shoulder hits the cam lobe. It turns out it's usually 2 and 4 on a small block Chevy. This shoulder here, when it's coming around, the cam lobe is also coming around in there. And then number 2, when we'll hit the cam lobe just happens to be the top, the big tall part of the cam lobe, not the base, is coming around just as this is trying to get past the cam. So it bumps. Notice this has already a shape that's clearanced, a good shape, instead of having a squared off spot there. This is basically stroker clearanced in design, but there's going to need to be more, not on that spot, but in this side. So what I do is torque it down. The bolt may need to be part of the clearance, and so the bolt end might have to get ground off. So when it's torqued to spec, then once you take it off, put it back on and torque it, it will be in that same position, give or take minuscule amount. Let's see if I'm successful, because it was quite a bump. But anyway, I'm going to grind these and be right back to you. All right. Now, is this going to be enough? You know, compare it to that. Is that clearancing going to be enough? From experience, it's usually right in this area that needs clearance, but you never know. We'll find out. Hopefully. Okay, what am I doing? I gotta flip the engine. Take this paint off. Okay. I washed the rod in the parts washer. I kept the piston covered. Maybe I ought to blow it with air just in case. All right, this is 6. Some more goop. Hope I gooped that one. Yep, I gooped it. Oh darn. My impact wrench is around the corner. Okay. Now, I'd like to maybe later show you with a borescope. Okay, we gotta spin it clockwise. So it's this one here. Oh, well, you got to go a couple times around. Dang it. Because that was just, it's too, darn it. There may be some bumps later. Here comes the lobe, darn it. The other ones, I hope, clear. Okay, so that's where the lobe top comes close, but isn't hitting now on number 6. But if any others, remember that. Go twice around. I mean, so far so good. All right, now we'll do number 2. I guess it's always number 2 and number 6. So still, I'll be back at you because I got to take apart number 2 and grind on it. So I was good on where I thought, okay, so this is going to get the same treatment. All right, that's greased up. New gloves. To put number 2 in and hope for the best. See, if this doesn't clear, I've seen even tighter base circle camshafts, but that was because they were higher lift. You know, so in order to get more lift on a, you know, without, so the cam can fit in the cam bores in the cam tunnel, you have to grind it lower and lower to the base so that there can be more lift. You know, the lift being in starting lower, and then overall the net lift will be more. You knew that, but whatever. I washed this off and blew it with air. Had it all covered with a rag. Let's see. Oh, no, that goes like this. No, this is number 2. Okay, never mind. Goes like that. That gap there. More goop on the bearing. Oh, so here is the clearance. Right there. go around twice, because when I was spinning this one, it looked like, how could there be any interference? The cam lobe was not in the way, but it spun around the second time, it was. This looks like the cam is headed toward hitting the rod. I sure hope not. I hope I'm clearanced enough. Didn't feel anything. So what does the lobe do? I think it doesn't get there. The rod gets past it before the lobe comes. The rod gets past it before the lobe comes to hit it. So we don't have the short block yet because I haven't torqued the rod bolts. But we do got to spin it fast. I like to do that. Here they are. Because with this other look at that. Barely engages. That's good though. I don't hear or feel anything. So we're going to have good clearance. All right. Success. The short block is almost complete. I'm just going to torque up the rod bolts, and I'm going to call it being done.